Welcome, everybody. It is Dr. Ellie Harper, the human flow psychologist, and you are listening to The Truth About Mental Health, where we talk about topics that have caused so much damage that people don't want to come for therapy anymore. I was workshopping that last time, guys, and I thought I'd just try it out again. And it sounds good to me. I feel settled. How do you feel about it?
Yeah, I was immediately like, oh yeah, I remember this intro. Like, yeah, I love it. I love it.
Anybody else having deja vu?
It feels like a whole new experience.
So I'm joined today by two of my very favourite human beings, Pastor Jonathan Fries from the Music of Life Church, Appleton, and Pastor Joel Swakowski from the Music of Life Church, Kimberley. How's it going, chaps? How are things?
Very well. We're having so much fun. We're recording more. We are stepping into lots of stuff. Joel and I have very, very interesting lives.
Yeah, lots of irons in the fire. That's for sure.
Absolutely.
A lot
yeah.
of really great stuff. Really great stuff.
I love that, irons in the fire. I like to think of it as fingers in pies, but you know, that's just my preferred analogy. Yeah.
Well, we have an entire ocean between our catchphrases. So
Well, I think I like fingers and pies better. It's less burning involved. Well, actually, depending on how hot that pie is.
yeah.
Well, thank you both so much for joining me again today. I'm so excited. I had such a blast last time and I've been really looking forward to this. So thank you so much for both being here. And just to let everybody know that we're going to have a little chat today about season 5 of the What the Flock podcast and the Music of Life Church podcast. And again, just to let you know, I've listened to all the episodes and I want to take you, my aim for our conversation is to take you on a little bit of a journey. You've taken me on a journey through these podcasts that I feel, so I would like to try and take you both on a bit of a journey in terms of the questions that I want to ask you about. And
Sounds
I like to mix things up a little bit. Yeah, are we ready? Ready to go?
I want to go on a journey. Yes, please.
Yeah, okay, cool. Okay. So, okay, we are going to have another little bit of a game. So I'm going to ask you both: have you got pen and paper to hand, or something that you can kind of just like jot something down on? That would be great. Oh, love it. Yeah, pen and paper. I'm so old school, Jonathan. Like, you know.
I know. What is this? What is this technology here? It's remarkable.
Okay, so.
Sponsor much? Anyway.
Yeah, right.
if I can share with you my overall feeling, having watched all 15 episodes of What the Flock and the Malt podcast for season 5, was that it felt to me like a sandwich. That's what I'm going with. It felt to me like a sandwich. So I felt like we had a slice of bread at the beginning, which was to do with truth. We had 5 episodes there on truth. And I felt like there was a slice of bread at the other end, which was all about God's will. I mean, I know that the theme throughout was God's will, but we have this mini series of 5 episodes on God's will at the end. And then I just feel like there's something in the middle here. Like, I'm not quite sure what it is, but it was quite tasty. So what I would like to do this time, I'm going to ask you again to get. I'm going to ask you a question that is based on these 3 kind of subsections of series 5. Okay, so I'm going to pick 1 episode on the truth section, 1 episode on. I'm just going to call it the meat section.
The meat. All right.
The meat section.
I can dig it.
Section. And I'm going to pick another one from the God's Will section at the end. So I'm going to ask you both to write down your guesses in terms of what those episodes are going to be. Okay, so I will read them back. So number one, I'm going to ask you a question based on either truth and deception, non-contradiction, causality, contrastive thinking, or growth mindset.
Okay.
What's your answer out of those 5? You don't tell me now. We're gonna come to it at the end.
Wait, so the first question is, which one of those 5 are you going to ask us a question about?
Yes, and if you can write it down, but not tell me your answer, because we're gonna do the answers at the end.
Truth versus deception, non-contradiction, causality, contrastive thinking, and growth mindset. Is in the truth bread.
That's the truth bread portion of this, yes.
Okay.
Okay. Both got that? Both settled on that? Okay, Jonathan, I'm looking at you now.
Oh, wait. Oh, to have picked an answer?
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with yes. I picked an answer.
Okay, don't tell me. Don't tell me.
No, I won't tell you.
I'm gonna ask you
Okay,
again.
my answer is.
Okay. Now we're just moving into this tasty meat bit. The more I say that, the more wrong it sounds, but I'm just going to go with it. So the next 5 episodes are life, the gospel, fruits of the spirit, husbandman, and Jehovah's story. Got your answer, Jonathan? Yeah? Okay. And then the other slice of bread over on this side, specifically to do with God's will, we have God's 3 plans, council meetings, dissolve, the 4 causes of judgment on Sodom, and prophecy. I'm just having a little dance.
So your game show theme music is actually no music, but just you dancing. Yeah, nice.
Yeah. Okay.
Just a clock ticking and you dancing to the beat of a clock.
Okay. So you've both written down those 3 answers? Okay. Now I'd like you to just set that aside. Not too far out of reach, because we're going to come back to it later on. Because otherwise, what would be the point? If there were no points involved, what would be the point? Yeah. So
it's an excellent point.
I know. I'm all
I
about.
Understand that point. That's a great point.
Mm-hmm.
All about the points tonight. Right.
Points.
Okay. So first of all, if I can just say that I thoroughly enjoyed listening to season 5 for lots of reasons, but there was so much to take from the episodes, and I really enjoyed it. But it was, again, interesting to me, kind of as I was listening to the episodes, I think naturally, just in terms of how it related to my life personally, but also to how it relates to how I'm looking to help others, as a psychologist, how I'm looking to help others. And there were some episodes that stood out in relation to that. So the first episode that I would like to ask you about, or talk to you about in relation to, is causality. Okay. So cause and effect. And it was just so interesting for me listening to this. So for years, for a long time, I've had this feeling that we are living, just generally, as as a society, are living our lives back to front or the wrong way round. But that's the way that I put it, back to front. Okay, so I could see that there were many ways that I was living my life back to front. When I'm working with clients, I kind of, they'll come to me with a problem, and there'll be times when I'm like, you've got that back to front, it's the wrong way around. And listening to your episode just really helped me to put words to those feelings. So back to front to me is how I say we're going in the opposite direction of cause and effect.
Yeah, that's great.
So just listening to that episode, I was like, this is what that means. This is where this is where I've been going wrong. This is where, lots of my clients are going wrong, because we're focused on the effects rather than on the causes. And it can happen, in so many different contexts. And again, I just want to go a little bit bigger picture here in terms of, the field that I work in terms of psychology, because I feel like this is a huge issue for psychology in general. I think that we're very much focused on the effects. So what I mean by that is, if somebody comes to see a therapist, comes to see a psychologist, the first thing we do is look at the effects, and that could be, a list of problems, a list of issues, a list of symptoms. I'm feeling depressed. I'm feeling anxious. My relationship's just broken up. Whatever it might be, and this kind, just this list of problems or issues or effects, and that's where we focus initially. I am using a very broad brushstroke here, but that's where we focus initially. Then we might go back to application. So, okay, what are the things that we can do to help people with these problems that they're having? So say I have somebody who comes to me and they feel like they can't stay in a relationship because they feel like they're being walked all over. I'm a doormat in relationships. Okay, so I might look, okay, how can I help you with this particular problem? And I might go, okay, you need to be more assertive. And I'm going to look at the application that helps somebody with that effect. Okay, so in order to, deal with that problem, you need to be more assertive. Then we might go a step further back again and look at the context in which that applies, or the principle with which that applies, and realize that that's kind of, over lots of different contexts. And I might, as a psychologist, go, do you know what? I think the problem here is that you have an attachment issue. You're insecurely attached. And that's going to affect you in terms of your family, your friendships, your romantic partner. But I never really get back to the actual cause or the truth behind all of that. Okay, so again, the reason that I'm sharing this is because I am working continually now, every day, I feel, to get back to the causes of what is hurting people, what's unhealthy for people, so that they can live their lives in a way that these problems don't affect them in the same ways that they are. Now, I want to ask you both, because I like to be a bit cheeky and ask an awkward question now and again. What is an area where you feel that you are still too focused on the effects, and what are you doing about it?
What a
That was quite the
question.
setup. Yeah, what a setup too.
Yeah. Well, I could share one thing. As a pastor, there's this desire I have for a lot of people to understand the truth that God's given us. And there can be times where I'll cry out and wonder why more people aren't coming towards the information God's given us, whether that be our churches or the ministries we're a part of, or even this podcast. Like, we've done 75 episodes on, well, really 150 episodes across 2 different podcasts. And it's unlike any other podcast I've seen. And the information is, I mean, it transcends the church genre as far as its ability to help people. And why aren't more people listening? So that the effect that I really want, and sometimes I can still get a little too focused on, is the quantity of people that I feel like is the number that would prove success in my field. The problem is God doesn't look at things that way. And so what that means then is whatever this number is that I've equated or I feel like would mean success is something that I've conjured up in my brain, or I have drawn from some other man, or it's like, who says there's a certain number that I'm supposed to reach in the first place? But whatever that number is, I feel like we're not there. I feel like we could and should be helping more people. What I do about that is something that Pastor Jonathan taught me. And I mean, one, it's to just go back and just take direction from God. That's the number one thing I'm supposed to do. And that's the simplest answer. But when I'm in church preaching a sermon, or at a class teaching something, or even, editing and publishing these podcast episodes, and seeing the analytics come back at a number that's not as ideal as I would hope. One of the things Pastor Jonathan encouraged me to ask myself, or to remind myself in those moments, is God sees what I'm doing. God's part of our audience. Not that he needs the truth. He's the one giving it to us in the first place. But the point is like, even if there's 20 people in my church, God's one of them. And he sees what we're doing. And that immediately helps me relax and be like, okay, so it's like, God knows what I'm doing. And if I just focus on that, I'll let him take care of the rest. If I just take direction from him, step into as many opportunities as I can to get his influence through me out to the world, I'll let him take care of the quantity. And I'll let him be the measure of what it means for me to be successful. And it immediately relaxes me as far as those numbers that I can get wrapped up in every once in a while. So great question, Dr. Ellie. That's great. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. And my answer is very similar to Joel's. I just feel like the effect that I desire is to have impact. I want to see people's lives change. I want to see, ever since I've been very young, this feeling of life being finite, and the time that I have in this life is very short. And so there are times where I get caught in a comparative spiral of, I am not doing enough. This person has done this thing. This person has done that thing. You go on social media and you see some great artist perform a song, and I go, I will never write a song that's that great. Or I will never help all those people. I'll never speak in front of all these people. And it is so related to what Joel was saying. So I think for me, comparison is death. As soon as I start doing that, I just die. Comparison is a thief of joy. As soon as I start doing that, I just watch all my energy go away. So what helps me be about the causes is to actually flip the pronouns on the life that I live, and go, okay, if there was someone who was, being a pastor, who was helping train other pastors, who was meeting with people and using the gifts that God gave them um, to further his kingdom, just even that one area in my life, I would go, that's amazing. That person is doing amazing work, and they should continue to do that work. They should continue to use these gifts. And that would be enough. So I think that helps me go back to what Joel said, the causes of taking direction from God and being who he wants me to be. And that is something that I'm still learning. I'm still learning that I don't need to be the smartest, the most talented, the most caring, or the best looking, or whatever. I just need to be the person that God's made me to be. And I'm so glad that we do have the answers for that, of, finding out your motivational spiritual gifts, or your, who you are, your intangible drivers, or finding out your personal vision statement and living according to that. And that's really all I need to be doing. And again, I mean, handling the thing that's right in front of us. What's right in front of us right now? This podcast.
Yeah.
Doing this interview with you, Ellie. The more I can get to where my feet are, the more I'll actually enjoy my life. So, and honestly, a lot of it too is, instead of going, man, am I having impact? What I'm trying to work on is helping other people have impact, and focusing on, no, I just want to care. If Joel and I are talking, how can I help him become more of who God wants him to be? How can I lead him? How can I facilitate Joel's purpose and progress into being more Joel? Or for you, Ellie, how can I facilitate Ellie's purpose and progress in this moment, and give up the fact that, like, where am I going to go? What am I going to do? Because I can't do both of those objectives at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
I need to lead you and give up where I'm going in that moment to lead you. Or instead of focusing on where is this going to, is this going to be profitable or not? Whatever, just lead the person that's in front of you. So, great question.
And I guess that I kind of want to ask on the back of that, like, whether you find that hard. Do you find that difficult at times? Like, can that be, is that a struggle? Like, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
you're saying the which part, the being competitive and comparative with other people, or the leading other people? Which part?
Yeah, no, the bit of kind of like, of leading other people, and yeah, but focusing on what's for their benefit, and letting go of that kind of comparative way of thinking. Do you find that difficult at times?
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think there's a lot of people who spend, a large chunk of their life going, I'm going to help other people so that then I can get my thing. So then I can do what I want. And it's, at the end of the day, that's not love. You're not giving without expecting. You're giving so that you can get to where you want to. And when that timer runs up, then I'm going to wash my hands of everything and everyone in my life and burn every bridge. So it can be really difficult to go, no, why am I doing this? What are the causes and the reasons for why I'm doing this to begin with? What caused me to begin this journey? But getting your brain on that can be very difficult, especially if you start to look around you, and like Joel was saying, and you start going, well, where are the numbers? The numbers are what equals success. And that has never been our story. numbers have like large quantities of money, of people, of any, like there has, Joel and I have
Stuff.
not,
Yeah.
we have not lived that life of numbers. So as soon as it starts to become a numbers game, and it's really easy, it's easier to focus on that, the quantity, than it is to go, yeah, but is that person who we're helping, are they becoming more of who God's made them to be? And continue, and then help that one person every single week or multiple times a week become more of who God wants them to be. Versus, I think people would look at that and go, what a waste. What a waste. How long have you been working on helping that person become more of who God wants them to be? Shouldn't you be helping, you could help 100,000 people grow, but you're focusing on one person. It's like, it's really tough.
Yeah, and we naturally we want to measure things quantitatively, and it's a shortcut to us not having to then take direction from God and quiet our thought process and give up control to a qualitative measure. Quantity is, it's just it's easier. It is easier to measure things that way, but God doesn't measure things that way. He measures things qualitatively. So I mean, it can be tough because it's an intentional decision to have to turn my brain from a quantitative, tangible focus to a qualitative, intangible focus, because our brains don't naturally want to do that. We naturally want to just measure things just counting numbers. And but I've found that, the more, like, we're all really, as humans, we're all just addicted to happiness and joy chemicals, right? Now, what the journey that we're supposed to be on is, what's the manner in which we get those chemicals? And the only right way to do it is the way God has designed. The only way that we do it where it's not either hurting us or other people. And I think one of the things Jonathan and I have both discovered, and where it still kills our flesh, and it's still something we don't naturally want to do, to focus qualitatively and to ignore the effects, or to at least not focus on them. Something, the longer we've been leaders, the more we've put ourselves in those situations where we've been required to lead, and people have relied on our leadership. And the more we've experienced the intangible and qualitative benefits of that, the more our confidence and faith in that approach has become the thing we want to do more. To where, I mean, this idea or tendency to reach for an effect or try to make something happen in our own strength is still coming from a warped place of me thinking this is what's going to make me happy. But when those things are focused on effects, the opposite happens long term. I might feel some short-term burst of energy, but long term, it's just going to ruin everything, including my own thought process. So it is something that your faith, your confidence continues to build in this way of living that, with you being the human flow psychologist, helping people really get into this more of a habit of living a life of flow. What Jonathan and I are trying to do is help people live and growing in this habit, and then ourselves too, of having this habit of living a life of grace, of letting whatever we're doing be God through us. And the more we do that, the more we see how every other way of living just doesn't live up to what it feels like to let God live through you. So although it's still always like, there's never going to be a point where me and Jonathan or anybody is going to, any human being is ever going to be, all right, now I got this. It's never going to be hard for me to take direction from God anymore. No, we all carry this flesh. We all carry this animalistic perspective and thought process, and this human effort accomplishment thought process with us wherever we go. It's always a challenge to get rid of that. But as we grow in the Spirit, as we grow in our ability to take direction from God and hear his voice and live that life, our desire to kill that other way of living grows with it. So although this is always a challenge and always a hurdle to overcome, this human and animal way of living, as we grow in grace and as we grow in flow, we grow. It's like this contrast happens where it's like the hurdle seems lower and lower the more I live this life of flow and of grace, because there's nothing that compares. But it's always a challenge, and I don't expect it ever not be a challenge.
Yeah. I love that so much. I really do. As one of my favorite things about talking to you both is that, you just, you just have this, this kind of like this sort of like, this backward step perspective, and I find that so helpful, and that's something that I'm growing in myself, and something that I'm growing in helping the people that I work with as well. But I love what you said there as well, Joel, that like it's it doesn't ever have to be easy. Like, I think that that's where a lot of people are coming from. Kind of, I just want this to be easy. I just want
Yeah.
it to feel good.
Yeah.
Like, and that's not the end goal. Well, it can be an end goal, but it's not gonna end well.
Right. Yeah.
If we go that way. And I think, and it's just, I feel so settled just listening to you both sharing there, because I'm like, because sometimes for me, like I'm, part of the reason why I ask you these questions is because, it helps me to think about where I am with, with these things. One of my favorite things to say to people is that, the answers are fairly simple, but they're not easy. Like it's, not going to feel easy to like step into it, and
Right.
and so forth. So leading on from that kind of, because it's all very well and good, like saying all this stuff, focus on the causes and don't worry about the effects and give up control, and all this stuff, which I agree with, don't get me wrong, but in terms of that, it's not easy. This is my point. It's not easy. And I think that we need help with that. So the topic from your kind of
the grizzly meat section. We can stick with the meat, the meaty center.
Grizzly meat.
Grizzly meat.
Grizzly? Where did that come from, Joel? That was you, not me.
I think I was supposed to say gristly, but instead I said grizzly, like a grizzly bear. So we'll just go with that.
Alaskan grizzly meat.
Yeah.
Okay. So yes. The chunk of the grizzly meat section that I would like to address with you both, relates to your episode on husbandman. So again, I just it was so interesting hearing you talk about it. And for anybody who hasn't listened to those episodes, then I would absolutely recommend that you do. But I just want to make it clear here that when we say husbandman, we're not talking about kind of like the sort of traditional sense of a husband being, the male in a marriage.
Right.
But to me, and actually this is something that I wanted to clear up with you, because I was trying to think of what my own definition of a husbandman is. And to me, it seems like somebody who is focused on helping another person with their thought process, to get their thought process into a better spot, so that they can be more profitable, so that they can create more.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah,
would you
that's
agree
cool.
with that? Would you add anything to that?
I would just say, like, just to add on to this, is when we're talking about husbanding, we're talking about helping someone become who God has made them to be.
Yeah.
So we're talking about who they are as a person. So it's not necessarily a mentor. It's not, but you can mentor, it's not a coach. It's someone who is really helping you become who you are. So that's really that's the focus. And so what I like about what you said is that we do everything through a thought process.
Right.
So to become who you are, you need to kind of unblock and use those things so that who you are flows through your thought process to be more of who you are. So a husbandman deals very, specifically with a thought process to unhinder who someone is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Joel, do you feel settled by that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm good.
Okay.
John, I agree with Jonathan's answer. That was perfect.
Okay, cool. See,
Am I blushing? I feel like I'm blushing. I feel like I'm blushing.
Yeah, so no, I'm glad that we just cleared that up, because I just wanted to make that clear before I sort of share my thoughts on this, because one of the things, as you were talking about this in your podcast episodes, I mean, I feel super excited by this, and it's something that I suppose, again, the way that I work, very big picture, the first thing that kind of like springs to my mind was kind of like, imagine if everybody in the world had a husbandman. Like, what would the world look like? And I was just like, oh, I just
It's like raindrops are falling on my head. You just like start dancing, like that's
yeah. And I was
what a
just,
world.
yeah, like and I was just kind of like, I was kind of thinking about that, and then I came back down to earth, right? And I was thinking more about how it kind of applies in terms of me, but also in terms of the people that I'm working with, and it just made so much sense to me from a psychology perspective. And if you'll permit me, I'm just going to do like a little bit of teaching here for for people that might not be aware, but it really spoke to me in terms of one of the key differences between men and women. And yeah, and in terms of this, that there are, I believe that there are, kind of, physiological differences between male and female brains. One of which being in terms of how our conscious brain works, particularly the nucleus basalis, which you can think of as the doorway to the conscious brain. Okay, so the way that I try, help the people that I work with. I work with a lot of couples, and this is one of the things that I teach the couples that I work with, that the nucleus basalis, the doorway to your conscious brain, works differently in males than it does in females. So if you think of it as a doorway, like I like to do this kind of.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Classic doorway with the hinge on one side. Okay.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah.
It's all
Okay.
you got it. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. With me. Right.
Yeah.
Thanks, John. Right. So, but for males, that moves more slowly. Okay. So it moves kind of more like that. I'm thinking about this thing. Now I'm thinking about this thing. Now I'm thinking about this thing. Now I'm thinking about this thing. For women, it moves more quickly. Okay. And I like to do this because it moves more like this. Okay.
That's beautiful. Yeah.
Okay. And it's hilarious. I say it's hilarious. I find it hilarious. When I explain this to couples, all the women go, yeah. I'm not getting any arguments from the women at all. And the guys are like, what? No, this doesn't sound right. But the reason that I'm sharing this with you is because I feel like this, speaks to a lot of the tension that can be caused between males and females when we don't understand this. Because basically an effect of this difference between how the nucleus basalis works for men and women is that men tend to be able to handle one thought at a time in a healthy fashion, and women tend to be able to handle up to 5 thoughts at a time in a healthy fashion. Okay. Now, that's not to say that women are supposed to be running around with 5 thoughts all the time. In fact, I would like to help the women out there to, learn how to get rid of thoughts and get down to one thought. But this brings me back to this husbandman episode that you spoke about and why I was so excited about it. Because I felt that you were sharing with people, sharing with the world, kind of, the way to handle this, the way to go about this in a way that helps both men and women. And again, I think, physiologically, biologically, the way that we are built, I do and you said this, in the episode. I believe that males are in the best position to be able to step into this role of husbandman and help women, not just women, help other people. But I'm thinking about it specifically in terms of women, mainly because I am a woman and I've been running around with far too many thoughts for far too long a time. So I just felt that was beautiful. I just felt like it was such a beautiful thing to be able to understand. And it helped me to put words to my feelings and helped me to think about how I'm explaining this to the people that I'm helping, that males have, are built, their brains are built in a way to help people with their thought process. And, again, I am just going to stick with the men and women example, but to help women get down to one thought, and that has benefits for both sexes. So thank you for letting me just do my little bit of teaching there. But
Wonderful.
I would like to ask you both on this point, because I understand, and from my conversations with both of you, I understand that you are both husbandmen, to different people in your lives. And I have a 2-part question here. Number one, what has being a husbandman helped you to learn about yourself? And number 2, how would you sell the role of husbandman to a male who is more focused on effects?
All right. One of the things I learned is that now that no matter what, if somebody says that they want help, doesn't mean that I have the right to just directly teach them whenever and however I feel is a benefit to that person. So I'm a teacher. That's all I want to do. And that's the best thing I do. And I do husband. I'm the husbandman of a few women, and even and you can count being a pastor of a church as a husbandman as well. But if I'm not focused on teaching for the benefit of the husbandry that I am responsible for, then I'm just doing it for myself, and it's not love. And it actually just is causing, even if the information is good, it's actually causing damage to the people that I'm teaching. So that's one of the things where it's like, I still, even in these prearranged circumstances where people have sought me out for help, I still need to be very careful about when and how I go about teaching them. And then here's my big selling point to anybody who wants to know one of the greatest benefits of being a husbandman. Because it is the thing most dear to Jehovah's heart, it is one of the greatest ways to hear from God more clearly. What we like to tell people, especially men who are in husband-man relationships, is the best way to hear from God is to go to him with the cause of help me husband this person. And there's nothing God will jump at quicker than helping a person with that. So that would be my big selling point. If you're having a hard time growing or having a hard time hearing from God, this is one of the greatest ways. It's to put yourself in a position where you're meant to help someone else become who they were created to be. So there's my answers.
That was really good. So what have I learned about myself? So the first question is, what have I learned about myself from the process of husbanding?
Yes.
If I don't confront someone that I'm husbanding, it means that I am unsafe.
Whoa.
So
That's big. Yeah.
right.
Okay.
So it's
Yeah.
better. It is better. Like, let's say Joel and I both Joel represents nourishing and I represent cherishing. I represent
Just hypothetically.
Just hypothetically.
Just saying.
Or let's go extremes, okay? Extreme cherishing would be like, you feel incredible. Like you feel, you help someone feel just so safe that they are just completely free. Like, whoa, amazing. Versus so essentially in this extreme, you're the lovable, like that person just loves you so much, who you're helping them have this free experience. Okay, like let's say that's the extreme. The other extreme in confrontation or with nourishment is the extreme is that person is a jerk because they're so abrasive, they're so harsh, and they're so pokey that there is no way that you can escape anything that you do because they're going to bring the hammer on you. So for a husbandry's experience is, oh my God, I'm totally obsessed with this person. And oh my God, I am totally like, I don't know if scared's the right word.
Infuriated, like infuriated.
Yeah, or just ticked off. Yeah,
Yeah.
ticked off that they're going to call me out on it. Dr. Ellie, it is better for me to be someone that brings the hammer, who calls someone out, who first, it's better for someone to think that I am a jerk than for them to love me. Because we're talking about helping someone's soul get saved. And if I can only be on one of those two spectrums, it's better for them to go, wow, how could you say that to me? Than for me to not say anything at all, and then for them to run off a cliff. To feel completely ecstatic, throwing their life away. So when I don't confront, it means I don't care. If I don't say the hard thing, it means that I want that person to perish. And so I've had to learn that in husbanding is I don't need to try to be nice. I need to try to be truthful. I need to be honest. I need to say the hard thing. And that's the way that, to Joel's point, God comes through me. I'm not managing how my husbandry feels about me. I am making sure I'm managing getting out of God's way.
Yeah.
And trying to do that more by saying what's true. So it's been painful because going from one side, being the cherishing, lovable person, to starting to say the thing that's hard, people have gone, Jonathan has lost his freaking mind. you used to be so great, and now you are just, I don't want to have anything to do with you.
That
You're
doesn't sound like
insane."
you.
Yep, you're insane. That's not you. You know, who is influencing your actions?
Yeah.
How could you say that? And it's just infuriating. So that's a big lesson. So what's the point then? Here's my unique selling proposition. What's the point of being a jerk like that and risking being a jerk like that when the person that you love more than anyone else, or the person that you want to have sex with more than anyone else, is going to go, "You freaking jerk"?
What's the point?
What is the point? Okay, here's the point. When the effect happens, when that effect finally happens, whether it be the person that you love, you confront them and they crumble and they go and they break and their heart softens and they go, "Oh my gosh. I can't believe you said that to me. You must really care for me. You do love me." You feel like you just went on this amazing journey and you could very well have a lifelong friend because of that moment that you did that. So if you want a forever friend, or, you know, someone that you're husbanding, then you have to bring that tension.
Yeah.
You have to say the hardest thing to that person that you're afraid that you're losing the most in order for them to choose to want to still be your friend or still be husbanded by you, whatever. If it's romantic, if it's a husband and wife, then when Morgan wants to take her clothes off, and then I feel amazing because in that confrontation, I helped her become a different woman. She was new. She's now brand new to me. And I will always enjoy being around her because she's different, because I'm watching her grow. So here's a unique selling proposition for all the guys out there who are married. You will never get tired of having sex with your wife if you husband her. And you're always helping her become a different woman. That's how this never gets old. Because you can physically become less beautiful over time, but you can become more attractive over time. And we all have this experience when you watch the movie with a character in it who might not be the best looking character, and by the end of the movie you're sitting there like in love with this character, going, "I'm pretty sure that's the most gorgeous character I've ever seen." What is it? It's the character. It's the soul behind that character. We've all had this experience. If you want to live that, husbanding is the way to do that.
Oh,
Bravo.
Oh my word. Yeah. Round of applause.
Yeah, great job.
Yeah. Just I love it. The more I hear you talking about it, the more I understand about it, the more that I just love the concept, because, you know, I think that's so true. And, you know, just for me, yeah, you know, just, you know, like, you know, as, you know, like a kind of, you know, kind of like female perspective, like, you know, I think the thing for me that resonates the most is about helping somebody to feel safe, and you know, that's just huge. I mean, it's huge. Like, I could give all sorts of examples and so forth, but yeah, you know, hearing you talk about it from that perspective, you know, about helping somebody to feel safe, I just think that's massive. But I also, well done both of you in terms of the selling point, because what I got from Joel, you know, if you do this, you're going to hear more from God, and Jonathan, I got from you, you're going to have more sex. So, like, if you don't want those things in your life, like, don't husband somebody.
No, you don't need it. Exactly. Perfect.
Yeah.
A spectacular recap, Dr. Ellie.
Yeah, I feel heard.
Absolutely. Yes.
Oh, amazing. Thank you both so much. Right. Okay. So moving on. So, I mean, I appreciate that, the theme of season 5 is God's will, but you have this, mini series, these 5 episodes at the end of season 5, talking about this more explicitly. And what I wanted to just dig into a little bit deeper here is dissolve. So that's where I wanted to go here.
0 out of 3.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't go ahead in the game. Anyways,
Sorry,
dissolve,
we don't know. Maybe it's a different game. We don't know if we
right.
Right?
I still don't know the rules.
Right? Exactly. Joel's already quit. He already quit. We don't know the rules yet. It's such a good reaction.
Trigger much? I don't know.
No.
No, you trigger. Oh, that's funny. We don't know the rules yet. Maybe it's okay. So anyway.
Can I get back to the interview now? Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, Dr. Harper.
So in terms of this, like, again, it just spoke to me on lots of different levels, but I suppose I was thinking about it more this time, both in terms of my own experience, but also in terms of how I'm helping people. I feel like with this whole season 5, this is just like a personal observation, but I felt like this season really helped me more in terms of thinking about how I'm helping other people. And I don't think that that's a coincidence. I think this whole thing about God's will, one of the messages that I got from that is that God's will can only really be brought about in terms of, how I'm helping another person, or, the person that's in front of me. So I just, my brain was kind of like in that mode a lot as I was listening to these. But yeah, with this dissolve, and again, it just, I just loved it so much. And again, I get so excited about this topic, and I feel so settled by this topic. And I could go on and on about it all day, but it's one of the things that I say to my clients, is that, when you're faced with any problem, confronted with any problem, there's only 4 possible options in terms of how you handle it. And, those are absolve, ignore it and bury your head in the sand and hope it goes away. Resolve, like deal with the symptoms or the effects of the problem. Solve, deal with the tangible cause, and then dissolve, handle the intangible cause of the problem. Now that in itself just settles me. Whatever I'm faced with, I've only got 4 ways of handling it, and I get to choose, which way that I handle it. That straight away just, helps me to feel less overwhelmed and, kind of more calm and more empowered. But yeah, just bringing it back to some of the things that we've been talking about already. Like, I think that speaks to what I was talking about in terms of kind of like cause and effect. Like, are you getting back to the intangible cause of a problem? Are you addressing the intangible cause of a problem? And a classic example for me, I know last time we met, we talked about depression. But just to give people an example of what that can look like in psychology, like if you're depressed, like an absolve response would be, just hoping that it gets better. In terms of resolve, that might be kind of like taking medication, in terms of like dealing with the symptoms that you're experiencing. In terms of solve, to me, that looks like kind of, doing a course of cognitive behavioral therapy, and just doing a series of sessions that focuses on kind of like specific things, the same for everybody. But I feel again like we never really get back to the dissolve, like in terms of understanding, what are the contradictions that you have, what do you want to do about those, so that your unconscious brain can start energizing you again and stop, kind of, draining your energy. I know we've talked about that before, but that's just like an example of this. And it's a strange one for me, because I feel like dissolve at first, it feels it's very confronting. That's how I feel anyway. Like, when you get kind of given kind of like, and I was confronted by this dissolve, kind of option in terms of my own depression. And, it's kind of like, what? I've got to like figure out what I don't want to look at my contradictions. That doesn't feel good.
Yeah.
So it's quite, it's confronting. And, I'm doing this with other people now, and I get the same responses, from them, I think it is, but it's very confronting. But I think that if you're able to get past that and actually kind of like embrace it, it is like this, just even the word dissolve now, like, it just can melt away. And I love to think of that now. I love to think of God now, kind of, from off the basis of listening to this episode, just with this magic touch where can like, just like touch something. If it was me, I'd have a magic wand. I don't know whether God's got a magic wand, but like just touch something and it's gone.
Yeah.
Gone. Like, you don't need to worry about that anymore. Like, and I just
Yeah. Yeah, it's powerful. Yeah.
so powerful. And the more that I look for those dissolves in my own life, and the more that I look to help people to dissolve their problems, the more that I get that kind of, just that lovely feeling as well. But anyway, so in terms of the episodes, like when you're talking about, one of the things that came up was about taking this backward step. Solve involves kind of analysis. It involves taking these forward steps, whereas dissolve is, this synthesis approach, taking a backward step. And I wanted to ask you, what is recently, what is a backward step that you've taken, and how did it help you to dissolve a problem that you had?
Yeah, I actually had dinner with some old friends last night. Me and my son Jack went, and my friend has a son who's just a couple years older than Jack. So Jack is 16. This other young man was 18, about to graduate high school, and he's thinking about, do I go to college or do I join the Marine Corps? So there's the conflict or the problem. Right? So my friend, his name's Joshua, he invited me in as a veteran, asked me and Jack to come over for dinner so we could just have a good night, hang out, and then asked me if I would tell my Marine Corps story. And I felt like, okay, I can go in there, and Joshua and his wife, they have heard my Marine Corps stories before. They love them. I think that's one of the reasons he wanted to bring me in, come in and can help my son make a decision. So I feel like that would have been like the forward step, as I go in there and I immediately try to convince this guy of whether or not he should join the Marine Corps. I can tell him all my stories, and and then he can make up his own mind. But what I felt like God told me to do. So I went in. I was talking to Jack because I wanted this to be a cool experience for both Jack and I to go in. I'm like, I have a certain perspective. Jack's around the same age as this other kid. So I'm like, Jack's probably going to be able to connect with this guy more than me. So me and Jack I was talking about one of the other episodes. We're basically treating Jack and I like, let's have a council meeting. Let's talk about this. Let's strategize so that we can go in with a plan to best approach this situation. And what I felt like the perspective God gave me, because remember, one of the things we talk about in council meetings too is with the Holy Spirit in all believers and on all flesh, we can invite God to any council meeting that we hold, and he'll show up. And I feel like he came and showed up to the council meeting that I called with Jack, and God's perspective was, why isn't the first step, which a backward step would be a backward step, is to get to know this young man instead of first just spouting off all of this stuff about the Marine Corps to try to give him a good picture of what, like, all I know is that Joshua told me his son is interested in the Marine Corps. I don't know his son. And I can still talk about the Marine Corps, but I want to take a step back and first get to know him, which what that does is it also gives me more information to allow God to speak to me about what, if I do get the opportunity to talk about this, maybe there's a different way to approach it than what I know. So that was just last night. I feel like the dissolve approach was, let's take a step back and just, instead of trying to talk about the Marine Corps, let's just get to know him, let him be in control of the meeting, give up control to my friend's son. And then it was, what I ended up finding out is like the picture I had about what was really the fork in the road for this young man, do I join the Marine Corps or not, was completely different than what I thought going into the dinner to what I found out after asking him some questions. It did completely change the night. Jack was able to be a much bigger part of the conversation because of the direction it went. And I think the stories I was able to tell and the advice I was able to give was a lot more in line with what this guy actually needed. And I got, this morning, Joshua texted me and was just flabbergasted by how great the dinner was and how well me and Jack were able to care for his son. And I don't think it would have went nearly as well if we went in there and just tried taking control of the meeting. Because that's what that forward step is. I'm in control, right? I determine what I'm going to say ahead of time, and I'm going to say it. Instead, I was like, I was in a position where I might not talk about the Marine Corps at all, depending on what he says. I don't know. I'm ready to. I'm prepared, but yeah. So it was great. And once again, it's like, I mean, these issues, they can be as severe as, post-traumatic stress disorder, bipolar issues, depression, or as simple as, do I join the Marine Corps or go to college? The approach is the same with God and everything he goes towards. So yeah, dissolve definitely worked last night.
Thank you, Joel. Jonathan, what about for you?
Yeah. It's a great story, Joel.
Thank you.
Yeah, man. I can't wait to hear more about it. Well, one of the things that I'm kind of realizing right now as we were talking about this, Dr. Ellie, when you were talking about dissolve, and I don't know if it was your emotional perspective about how settling and beautiful and amazing dissolve actually is and how God is reaching into a situation to make it go away. But one of the things that I was thinking about is in order to dissolve a problem, you need to focus on the intangible cause of the problem. Well, I don't know why I've never connected this, but I was like, the intangible cause. Who is the intangible cause?
The first cause, right?
So what does it look like to be growing in dissolve? It looks like for you to be constantly getting better at hearing from the intangible cause.
Yeah.
So what does it look like to dissolve your dissolve issues? I'm having an issue with dissolving issues. Well, why don't you get to know the intangible cause? Why don't you start learning the language of the intangible cause so that you can hear from the intangible cause? And then he's going to show you his language and his way that he addresses issues. So I was just like, man, why didn't I not think of this before? But so thank you.
I didn't either.
Just
That's great.
Your description of the intangible cause helped me see that I should be drawing on the intangible cause, the capital T, capital I, capital C.
Yeah.
But it happened today for me. So I was talking with my friend Dean. He's developing a course for a group that he runs. And we had all of these topics and we're trying to figure out these orders. And it's just like, kind of feels like a brick wall. Like, it's good, it's fine. And he goes, Jonathan, we forgot one of the biggest pieces. He's like, we did not even remember to talk about uniqueness. And he's like, you didn't see this and neither did I. And he's like, he kind of smiles like, oh man. He gets up, he walks out, to use the bathroom. And I'm like, well, I might as well. I get up, I go to the bathroom, and instantly I hear, you don't need to reinvent the wheel, Jonathan. I'm like, I don't need to reinvent the wheel. I'm like, there's so much stuff that we already have. We don't need to invent a new course. We need to build a course off of what it is that we already have.
Nice.
There are already like so many materials at our disposal that to create a whole new structure is unnecessary. It's like, and so I said to Dean, we have spent years trying to figure out the order in which to teach things. I said, how about we use this structure and we fill in if there's anything else into the structure that's already there? And it was like, bing, 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 bing.
Worked perfect,
and bang, done. And I got a text message from Dean afterwards going, in all capital letters, like, that meeting was powerful. And I said, it's just getting out of God's way. That's all that was. I was finally at a position where I was like, I don't know, man, I'm botching this. Bang, there it is. I constantly do this with my life, you guys. I'm like, try to make stuff happen. And God is literally, I feel like, standing next to me going, you let me know when you're done, pal.
Yeah. It reminds
Like,
me that phrase we have a lot. We talk about. It's a similar. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. We say don't bleed over something that's already been bled over. It's like, oh, yeah, we know how to train people in this area. That's good.
And I've got so much. So I pull up 2 programs and I'm like, Dean, all of the things that you want to do is just all right here. And he was just like, oh, I'm buzzing it. He's just all jacked up.
Jonathan, is that your best Scottish accent? I think you can do better.
I can try, mate. I apparently I sound like Shrek when I do a Scottish accent.
I think you do a bit. I'll give you that.
Oh, I think yours is amazing. So, yeah, that was my dissolve. But
awesome.
yeah, I just got that is my story. God is sitting there right beside me going, you just let me know when you're done, pal.
That's awesome. What a caring father that guy is too.
He is. He's just
let me know when you want my help.
Yeah, he's just like, I'm under the sink trying to fix it.
Just banging a wrench against the pipe. Like,
it's just like,
yeah.
Are you okay, bud?
Yeah.
Yeah, Dad, I'm fine. I got it. All right, just let me know.
Leave me alone.
Dad, I got it. I'm trying to show you how much I care.
Yeah.
Yes,
I'm a man.
Do. Yeah, you do care. You care so much.
Yeah. Oh, you're so strong.
Wow. Yeah, dude. Wow. You are gonna get this done. You really are. You really are gonna figure it out. You know what? Because I've made you into such an amazing, smart
Yeah.
person. You're gonna figure it out. Good for you.
Yeah.
Wait, Dad, why do you keep talking? Why do you keep talking to me about this? Dad, I don't. Well, hey, I just want to
Yeah.
talk to you. I just want to know
Yeah.
how you're doing, how everything is. Well, what would you do? Fine. What would you do? And I get out.
Yeah.
Fine.
And then he's like, a button and a lever. And then you're like,
Exactly.
yeah, that's
Hey,
easy.
do you know what a pipe wrench is, Jonathan?
Yeah. Why are you using a hammer?
No. What's a pipe wrench?
Yeah, that's brilliant.
It's all of that.
Oh, I love it so much. Like I feel like I've got very kind of like visual imagination, but like, you know, I was imagining God kind of, you know, I mean, I wasn't imagining with the magic wand, actually, that's more me, but like, you know, just this magic touch, kind of like, but now I'm just, yeah, just sitting there, kind of like, you know, just biding his time, like, yeah, ready yet? You ready yet? No, okay, you know, and then
Yeah.
and then as soon as you're ready, like, there you go.
Yeah. And it's all speaking, right? That's how he does it all. Have you heard of a pipe wrench? You know what a pipe wrench is? It's all that.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Oh my goodness. Right. Okay. So, right. So I know you threw your piece of paper on the floor, Joel. I'm going to ask you both now what your answers. Well, you know, obviously we've kind of, you know now, but I'd like to know what you wrote down. And you know, you're going to get points because, well, or may or may not get points, but it was 1-1 after last time we spoke. So
I thought I won. I felt like I won, which is interesting.
I felt like I lost.
I know, and that's probably why. Because it was just like, even though you got a point, it was like, wow, I missed too, you know?
Yeah, like,
it's the difference between a C student and an A student.
Yeah.
Really. I got one.
I'm like, I missed too. Yeah.
I answered non-contradiction.
Okay, hang on. We'll do this one first. Okay, non-contradiction for the truth part of the sandwich. Joel, what did you answer for the truth part of the sandwich? Oh, okay. Well, that's interesting. So, no points there for either of you.
That
is so fun. So fun
I
to buzz.
just wanted to do the noises again. That's all this is.
I love it.
Okay, so no points for non-contradiction because we went with causality. And part 2, the gristly meat.
Yeah.
Grizzly meat.
Grizzly.
Okay, what did we go for there, chaps?
Joel had what is
Jehovah's Story.
Jehovah's Story. Okay.
And I had husbandman.
Okay, so I have to do both noises now. Joel, and Jonathan gets a ding, 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 ding. 1 point for Jonathan. Okay. Right now, disclaimer before the third part. There is, obviously, you know the answer. There is an answer that I will also give you a point for because it's the point that I'm going to finish this interview on. So
I'm betting I would put money on that I still got it wrong.
Okay. All right. Well, you know.
So what was it?
Yeah, what was it?
Okay. Well, Joel's gonna share. Prophecy. Okay, so what I did is as soon as you started talking, Ellie.
Yeah.
When you said, "Hey, put your pens and your paper down," you know, put it to the side. When you started talking, I was like, "Oh, I want to change my third answer."
Okay.
But because it's Jeopardy style, I need to go with my first answer. So when you said put things to the side, that means I couldn't go and change my answer. Is that
Pens
accurate?
down, Jonathan.
Okay.
I don't know.
No,
I'll
Jonathan.
let Dr. Ellie
I'm-
make up the
Yeah,
rules.
no, Jonathan, I'm going to rely on you to do the right thing.
Oh, geez.
Okay,
That's
well, then
worse. That's worse.
Then pens down.
What's going to help me sleep tonight?
Yeah, and I'm going to say, because you said put it to the side, that I will treat that as can't change. The answers are locked in. Ba-da-da-da, answer locked in. Final answer. Okay. So I changed it to dissolve. Then I felt unsettled because pens were down. And I went back to what I originally wrote, which was council meetings.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, I don't know. Well, okay. Yeah, so okay. Well, Jonathan, you get a point clearly for husbandman. And yeah, I appreciate your honesty there, because I think, you know, you changed it to dissolve, but it sounds like council meeting was your first choice, so I'm going to go with that. But yeah, so technically you both get kind of like 0, you know, for part 3 as well. So I'm just going to do it again. Right. But I know, and you can take this up with me at a later date, but I am giving Joel a bonus point for prophecy because I was torn between dissolve and prophecy. Okay, for this third part. And
redeem. Are bonus points worth 3 points? No.
Oh, no.
No. And in fact, I quite like this because you get a bonus point, Joel. Jonathan, you get a point for husbandman, so you're still at 2 all. So I feel like this means that we're going to have a decider at a future date.
Ooh.
I'm really looking for now. No, I'm not really competitive. Yeah, I'm really competitive. I'm coming after you, Jonathan.
There it is. Yes, you are.
Next interview.
Yes, you are.
And I know I've already taken up a huge amount of your time, but the reason this is why prophecy gets a bonus point, because I was very torn about talking about this. And I'd just like to just read a passage from a book that I have, The 7 Deadly Sins of Psychology.
Okay.
And I'm just going to read this little bit here. So, very passionate about psychology. If we continue as we are, then psychology will diminish as a reputable science and could very well disappear. If we ignore the warning signs now, then in 100 years or less, psychology may be regarded as one in a long line of quaint, scholarly indulgences, much as we now regard alchemy or phrenology. Our descendants will smile tolerantly at this pocket of academic antiquity, nod sagely to one another about the proto-science that was psychology, and conclude that we were subject to the limitations of the time. Of course, few sciences are likely to withstand the judgment of history, but it is by our research practices rather than our discoveries that psychology will be judged most harshly. And that judgment will be this. Like so many other soft sciences, we found ourselves trapped within a culture where the appearance of science was seen as an appropriate replacement for the practice of science. Boom!
Yeah,
No kidding.
dropping the hammer.
Wow, that was amazing. What a passage.
Yeah.
Great read too. Wow.
So I just wanted to throw that into the mix there, because this is another reason why I did want to mention prophecy and why Joel does get a bonus point, because I just want to make this point before we finish that something that struck me so deeply as you were talking about prophecy is that prophecy, is in regard to the causes that are already in place. And I found that so empowering to think, okay, well, I have control over the causes that I put in place. Where are the causes that I can change, that I want to change? That means that the future will be different, will be better, will be more fruitful, will be more profitable. And so I wanted to really, kind of just bring this to conclusion by just asking the rhetorical questions of the people who are listening. Do you feel like you have the right causes in place? Are there areas where you want to make changes? What are those areas? What are you doing about it? The future isn't told. Like, we can see what it might look like, what it could look like if you continue down the path that you're on, but you have power over, over what that can look like, what you would like that to look like. So yeah, I just wanted to leave it. That's my finishing.
Yeah.
What's the
Bravo.
word?
Edification.
Your flourish.
Yeah, let's go with that.
Panache.
Yeah. All those things. I flourish, I have panache, all these things. But change the causes that you're not happy about and do things differently, and God's going to reward you for that.
Nice. Thank you.
Yeah. So there we go. Right. So I will just, finish by saying thank you both again so much for joining me and for taking the time and for answering my questions. I love speaking to you both so much. And again, listening to the podcast has helped me so much. It's helping me to help the people that I work with. And I will continue to listen. I don't suppose you can give any clues as to season 6 and what that might look like?
No, not really. The biggest thing I can give you is it will be a completely different format from what we have been doing. So what people can expect is basically seasons 1 through 5 to feel like a complete arc of a podcast. And although season 6 is still What the Flock, and it is still Jonathan and I, it is almost like a new podcast. It's as it relates to the manner in which, or the process in which we're recording and the topics we're discussing. So I think people are going to really love it.
Cryptic. Okay.
Yeah,
Right.
I know.
Fine.
Yeah.
Oh, well, no, I can't wait to hear it. And yeah, as I said, thank you so much for your time today, gents, and it's been my absolute pleasure. I can't wait to hear season 6 and what you have in store for us there. And I will just finish by saying thank you. And everybody listening, if you've been hurt by psychology, you're not alone. We're here for you.